Hi guys, Greg Gulliford with Realty One Group and the Pamela McAnally team. Today I wanted to jump on and talk with first-time home buyers a little bit about, when you're getting to that point where you're ready to start looking for a home, what are some of the things that you think about? So that's what this video will be focused on, give you some ideas, some things to contemplate as you begin your search. We have done a video here about the importance of getting pre-qualified. So that's kind of the number one thing, to talk to a lender, tell them kind of what you're looking for, have them, they're going to ask for a number of things, just financial documentation and so forth. And that's a critical step in moving forward with purchasing a home. So this is going to be a little bit more practical in terms of what are some things to think about as you look for homes and so forth. So the first thing you want to really be looking for is where in town, or perhaps in the vicinity of a county, are you interested in looking? All across different counties, price points are so different. And so once you get the amount that you can afford with your lender that you're going to look for, then I would take a look at the different areas that you like and that homes in that area fit that parameter of pricing. You can talk to your real estate agent about getting some areas, doing some research in areas that fit kind of a price point for you. So that would be the first thing, is what area that fits the price point. The second area or thing to think about is, do you have kids? And are schools in the near future going to be important? Looking at the school ratings and so forth is going to be an important part for you to consider as well. Do you want children in that community? Or perhaps do you not want children in that community? We're oftentimes, even first-time home buyers are at different places in their life and what they want and so forth. So I know when we moved into this home back in 1997, we wanted a community, a neighborhood for our kids. That was really important to us, with parks nearby and places to go, walk, and hopefully some friends for them to play with. So that was really important and something to think about as you're looking for your future in terms of purchasing a home. The next thing is kind of a super practical, and that's how close it is the community to perhaps the highways. How easy is it to get onto the highways? If you commute to and from work, how easy is it to get to work? Or do you have to drive through a bunch of neighborhoods in order to get to the main road to take you to the highway? Most of us would be willing to drive a longer distance for the short term. But when you're looking at doing it day after day and year after year, that tends to make a difference. So something to think about there. Place of employment, schools, family and friends, places of worship, favorite stores. Perhaps there's a store that you enjoy going to and shopping at. So proximity to those things is really important in the long run. It really makes a difference there. The age of the community. Do you want to be in an area with people your own age, or people younger, or people older, or what have you? So those are some things to think about there. And then the last thing that I noted here is just the maturity of the neighborhood. A lot of newer communities do not have perhaps mature trees in them. The landscaping is not mature. So when you're going into a home, those are some really important things to think about as you consider the different homes to look at. So one of the other things that especially a first-time home buyer needs to consider when they haven't done this before, and is to consider what it is that they really want in a home. And there are a lot of choices to make in terms of the kind of home you want. But what ends up happening is that there's this list of things, and what happens is when we're not prioritized, it gets kind of mumbled jumbled in the process, and all of a sudden they get to a point where they're making a decision on something where their high priority items perhaps was not a part of that deal. A little example, I back in the early 90s, I bought a home in Portland, and we didn't have a logical process through it. We just kind of knew the general things that we were looking for within a good price point. And I walked in the backyard of this home, and it was amazing. I mean, they had a waterfall and a little river back there, and they had it going when we came and looked at the house. And of course, I was like sold on that. And for me, the house was good, but the backyard is what actually I made my decision on. Well, you fast forward that 2 or 3 years later, and the waterfall and the river were not designed very well. It continually leaked. The motor was having problems, and it was just not done to a high quality. And so it really took away from that whole experience. And to be quite honest, if we would have, not to say that it was the wrong home, but if I would have had a high priority list, that wouldn't have driven my emotional decisions as it did. And so we got in, and we were there for a number of years, but that was always a sore spot with me because I made a decision on something I didn't know a lot about, and it really ultimately was not critical to us raising the family there and really giving back, providing my family with a good backyard and so forth. So when you don't go in with a priority list, you can get sidetracked, because when you see something that's really cool, it kind of elevates your emotional state to want to get into something. So that's just an example of that. So I would say prioritize your list. What is super important to you, and what are perhaps want tos or a wish list that you can identify to say, I would like to have a really nice big yard, but that's not a high priority. Even if we had a mid-sized yard, that would probably work fine for us, or perhaps no yard. So that's always a really important thing and super helpful. The last thing that I think is important in looking at a home for a first-time home buyer is, do you want to buy a new home, or do you want an existing home? And that kind of goes back to a little bit of the maturity of the neighborhood, and of course price points, and so forth. But there are, especially here in Clark County, there's a lot of building going on. There's a lot of communities being built, and there are price points for first-time home buyers. But buying a brand new home when nobody's been there yet, so you're going to get what the builder builds, has some other ramifications to it. So existing homes are bring with it other issues as well. So, but that's just a really important thing to think about as you're looking at purchasing a home. So, well, I hope that's been helpful for you. We'll continue to provide some good value here for first-time home buyers and for buyers in general. So you have a great day. We'll see you next time. Thank you.